Hi all, do you think we'll get quorum?
I saw only one regret so far, which was Derek.
Okay. Because it's 10 p.m. here and I'm jet lagged. I have no idea what time it is. I'm exhausted.
I know.
How you doing, Dims?
I'm doing all right, Joe.
I've been talking to Tim a lot, but I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Brendan. How's it going, sir? Are you in your like attic or something? Got, like, wires behind your basement? Okay.
You want to see the laundry machine? Here we go see the laundry machine.
This is the great thing with working with a bunch of remote folks. You could see like all the places
3D,
they stash their home offices.
3D printer. What do we got over here?
Like
One
Tim's
wheel.
got an office. George does his basement all the time, but he just remodeled his basement, so it's actually really nice. Tim, you look like you're kind of in a spare bedroom type area, maybe.
Yeah, the main bedroom is off there. This is right on top of the garage. So it's like a small area. So not too bad.
Michelle always dials in from hotel rooms. I'm pretty much sure that's
Right.
where she lives.
Yeah. Hi, Brian.
Brian, are you in a real office or are you?
I am.
It looks like there's some interesting wall behind you. Oh yeah, that's the classic Google frosted glass going on there.
Yeah, this is a behind me is like carpet on the wall for sound dampening.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't put carpet on the ceiling like Graceland. Have you ever been to Graceland? It is like if you're ever in Memphis, it's totally worth going to.
They have some other kind of tiles on the ceiling, which I think are also sound dampening, but yeah, it helps a lot. Makes it not sound like a concrete echo chamber.
Come on, brushed concrete and hard glass for me, thanks.
Oh, Phil, are you an MP3?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, I'm down in RFID if you want to come down.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So while we're waiting, we could play guess what that poster is in the background over there.
I gotta zoom in here. Give me a second here.
No zooming, that's cheating. I don't know. The thin gap there makes me think it's Westeros and Essos from Game of Thrones with the narrow sea in the middle. It is. It is. He actually got it.
My favorite though is that George has like his son's like Thomas the Tank Engine in the background, and like every time he moves his office around, he always makes sure that he has like Tom's sort of position just on the edge of the camera frame. We got 7. That's quorum, but we can give it a few more minutes.
Should we ping anybody? I can ping Sarah. Sarah was on the Ask Me Anything this morning.
I was going to dial into that, but I was at dinner.
Uh,
Or wait, no. Where was it? I don't know. Still at the conference. Yeah, all this chatter, I post this stuff when I post the videos so folks can listen to us. Waste time.
Are we recording already?
Yeah, I have this one set up to record automatically when you log in case I don't dial in to avoid those whole like, who has host permission type of things. Except I don't think I'm dialed in here.
Sarah said she's joining, but her laptop started a software update or something. So it said she'll be joining shortly.
I'm going to pull up the agenda here.
I can take notes this time, but I'm in kind of an echo chamber today, so I don't think I'd be a good person to have an open mic and run the meeting.
I can take notes.
Yeah, we don't really have agenda above and beyond the future topics.
Yeah, like I'm happy to take notes and not run if somebody else wants to run. What I just scraped through last week's AIs, we have a lot. I didn't do very many of mine. I don't know about y'all. And we have the board, and that's all that I was aware of.
Yeah, and in terms of charters, SIG Apps has a charter up that I'm planning to review. Right now, because of the 1.13 release and the KubeCons coming up, I just have a lot of other project-related stuff to do right now.
Brian, are you going to go to China?
No.
You're going to go, Aaron?
Yep.
Long trip. Good
Yeah.
luck.
I'm there too.
Sweet.
Sarah.
It's
cool.
gonna be awesome. Actually, I heard M50. I'm gonna go check out M50, which is like some artists collective thingy in Shanghai. It's supposed to be cool.
Cool.
I would try to tag along, but I'm there for like 30 hours.
I'm only there for 3 days, but I still was like, I got to do something other than be on there.
Yeah, and so in terms of upcoming meetings, they're going to be interleaved with the 2 KubeCons. Is there anything specific we want to do in preparation for those events? And we have the Contributor Summit at Seattle. I took a look at the agenda yesterday-ish. Looked pretty reasonable with parallel current contributor and new contributor tracks.
Is there anything specific that we want the steering committee to do? Do we have a session there, Brian, or do you know? I don't have the agenda up.
Yes, we have. I think we have like a Q&A at the very end of the Seattle Contributor Summit. So places kind of quieted down. If you guys do want to start running a meeting with an agenda, I can run us through it. But so let's start with the KubeCon stuff. So 2 weeks from today is going to be kind of close to the Thanksgiving holiday for a bunch of people. Do we want to hold this meeting or do we want to cancel this meeting? I don't know what that head nod means, Tim. Sorry.
It means probably cancel.
How about we cancel, but then somebody take an action item to send email to poke everybody on their action items?
Yeah, I will be out on that day.
I think it'd be nice to be able to at least beat the drum on sort of making progress on some of these things, even if we don't meet. So if somebody didn't do something, at least they have to fess up and say, I didn't do it.
Okay, so then I think that means the next time we will actually meet would be our face-to-face meeting at KubeCon North America. Or sorry, it'll be the Contributor Summit where we're going to talk about stuff. And
There's
then
a December 5th meeting on the schedule. Do we want to have that one?
is there? That would be great. I would be totally fine with that.
So I think that would be the next one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be heading to Seattle on the Sunday, on the 9th.
Okay, I'd like to run us through our AIs from last time and our project board, and then with the time remaining, we could talk about like what we want to have prepped for that December 5th meeting and maybe start thinking about in-person stuff. Sound good to everybody? Okay, cool. I have like a billion windows here, so give me a second before I find the right one with the doc.
Do we have someone who's bosoning? I don't hear anyone. I can do that.
I can bosun, I guess. Or
Well, I can do it if you'd rather mute. I can do it. I don't have background noise here.
yeah, please go for it. So bosun
All right.
us through the AIs up top. But just since I'm on the first two, I don't have any next steps re-sub projects. I need to go and talk to Stephen Augustus or somebody and talk to SIG contributor experience about how to best like denote sub project owners with friendly human consumable contact info. We are all agreed that sub projects definitely have to have owners files because sub projects represent the ownership of resources, be that code or documents that describe process. But people don't like digging through owners files to figure out who they need to contact. I think anybody who's been through SIG architecture and had a discussion of their sub-projects recently can sympathize with that. So I will attempt to work on that, though probably not in the next week, but by December 5th, I should have something there. Same thing with moving SIG role stuff into the other governance doc. There were 2 docs in K community called SIG governance, and one of them seemed to be more about the logistics of how do you create a SIG as a contributor experience person, like what are all the mailing lists and channels and people you have to have. The other one was more like roles and responsibilities, what are typical recurring duties of a SIG. So I will get that out, and I will need steering committee review of that because I will be updating the SIG governance template that we're having all the charters point to.
I think Phil worked on both of those docs, so might be a good reviewer.
All right.
I can review them now.
Sounds great. So,
Okay, you want me to take over?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Since I actually have the next 2, both SIG Azure and SIG Windows now have charters merged. So, yay. Okay, Joe, ping SIG AWS.
Yeah, so we got something that I thought was ready to merge, and I sent out a last call on that, and Aaron had some feedback. I think that's been addressed. You know, by end of week, I'll try and do another turn review on that, and I think if it's addressed, I'll just merge it. I think there is a sort of point of order around sort of. I thought it was fair just to give everybody sort of a last call on the email list on this, and I think that probably brought Aaron in. What is the process that we want to do in terms of getting these things merged? Because I feel like, you know, we'll always find something to nitpick on stuff. At some point, you just got to call it and merge it, you know?
So hang on. I had actually been watching that one prior.
Okay, so that one was not in, okay.
Yeah, that wasn't in response to that. I really appreciate the last call. And actually, Brendan, the Windows charter merged without anybody from steering committee actually having reviewed it, except for yourself.
Oh,
So
that's right.
I feel like I totally forgot to like follow up on that. I commented on the PR, but I feel like whoever signed up to review that charter needs to actually go and make sure it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally almost a dead copy of like the template, so I think it's fine. But happy to have other people look. Yeah, I forgot. I forgot to add the hold at the beginning. I should, when I did the PR, I should have done /hold, and then the minute someone put an LGTM on it, it went right through because I have approvers. So. Yeah, that was my mistake.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're really close on the AWS stuff. I'll you know, assuming that it all looks reasonable, I'm going to call that one done. But I'll make sure I take another, you know, look over it before I say so. Unless anybody here has objections.
I think what I was trying to get Nishi to talk to on the AWS thing, for what it's worth, is she was trying to be really specific about which jobs they do and don't own. And I'm just I want to make sure that if AWS isn't taking responsibility for any and all tests that run on AWS, that they're a little more specific about what jobs they are taking responsibility for, just from a like test and job ownership perspective. And because I didn't think she wanted to say, yeah, literally any job that runs on AWS is covered under SIG AWS, because I did not think they were taking ownership of COPS, but I don't know.
Well, I think the ownership of COPS is still TBD. You know, my gut here is that like what we really want to do is have tests roll up to a sub-project and then have that sub-project have ownership from a SIG and sort of bring it in that way. I think there's still an open question on COPS here that we weren't going to try and resolve in the charter. That was going to be resolved in the as we sort of, you know, continue to evolve SIGs.YAML.
Yeah, I mean, that's technically a cluster lifecycle project, right?
It is. It is a sub-project of cluster lifecycle.
Yeah.
And Justin's reports out regularly on the details.
Yeah. So maybe that's all I'm asking for. She's just oddly specific when she answered back 3% of the jobs are covered. I'm like, well, if you know that specificity, you probably know which ones you're talking about. Let's list that.
I may merge this just to get it in and then say, hey, can you file another PR that just sort of brings some clarity on this, just to try and sort of close some of these things off.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that they're just starting to get involved in the community as well, so they may not be super familiar with what happens here, and they have multiple hats. You know, they're presumably going to contribute to cluster lifecycle also. So, yeah, it may not be clear to them, so we may need to just suggest something.
Yeah, I think there's good faith going on here, but I'll take a look at it. If it looks reasonable, I'll look at it. Otherwise, I'll work with Nishi to get that addressed.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That everything else looked reasonable to me. I just wanted to try and help safeguard them from being overly broad in which jobs people would ping them for.
And we can always adjust this stuff later. I mean, it's not, it's not written in stone.
Right. So on the next one, ping SIG PM, have not. Sorry about that. We'll try again later. DIMS.
Yeah, the SIG network is ready. At least there are 2 LGTMs. I think other people can take a quick look and then we can merge it, I think.
Yeah. Do you want to start a lazy consensus clock ticking on that one?
Okay. What's the typical time?
I think we got to figure out a process here.
Who is the other steering committee member who's supposed to review this one aside from DIMS? We usually have 2 people assigned to all of these. They were called out in, let me find it.
Yeah, there was one more PR. Oh, no, there was a doc or something.
Phillips.
Okay.
So if we can get Phillips to LGTM that, then yeah.
So for the next one, Aaron, you wrote a document on how to wind down stuff, right? Working groups and SIGs. So I need to see if we can follow the process to shut down the SIG OpenStack stuff.
Yes.
Did that merge, Aaron, already?
Maybe. I think I just said something about if we could wind it down in the event of inactivity. I don't know about things in general. You're also reminding me that the broader question of merging SIG cloud-specific SIGs into SIG cloud provider was a fun and active discussion during the most recent SIG cloud provider meeting. Mm-hmm. And I accidentally think I had you and someone else were supposed to follow up on that discussion.
Okay. I didn't make it to that meeting, so yeah.
Can I just ask some clarification?
Yes.
Just so it's like here for you to look at. So there's not participation in the OpenStack SIG currently? There's a lot of code there, a lot of integration pieces.
Right. There is code. There are people working. There are owners' files and stuff like that. But then I think what we had talked about at the beginning was when we set up the cloud provider, we said that we can fold things back in. For example, we are not having regular meetings in the SIG OpenStack. Mm-hmm. So that was one indicator to say that, okay, there is work happening both in the cluster provider as well as the cloud provider. It's just that you're not having any regular meetings.
So are you consolidating then versus winding down? Because I think language matters. All right. So
correct.
Why do we change consolidating then or something?
Okay.
Okay. And yeah, that's where there was just so much discussion around what does consolidation mean in the context of SIG Cloud Provider? Do we want SIG Cloud Provider to be this fat SIG that has every single sub-project that has anything to do with a cloud? or is it just the cloud provider repos, and should individual cloud SIGs still have some kind of ownership of all of their sub-projects? SIG AWS would be a great example, since it has things like the application load balancer and the IAM authenticator sub-project, which it inherited from Heptio, right? So like, should all of those go to SIG cloud provider as well? Or
see, like, I think sub-projects or even subgroups can have multiple repos associated with it, like kubeadm does and the API machinery does. So if you're a sub-project and you have things that fall underneath an umbrella of a sub-project, it seems totally reasonable to have multiple repos associated with it. So AWS sub-project of cloud provider SIG could easily have all those sub-projects associated with it. Cluster Lifecycle has been an example of a SIG that doesn't have any problem with sub-projecting out different groups, right?
Yeah, I agree. That's the model I proposed. And then if you wanted to get really imaginative, you could say, well, but we're forcing SIGs to have either tech leads make the decision about when new sub-projects should get created or new code should be made the responsibility of the SIG, or we're allowing sub-project owners to vote. And so what if this ends up in a scenario where like Google and Microsoft and all the OpenStack people gang up and prevent Amazon from adding any new sub-projects, for example, because we create a voting block or something?
Well, number one, like, again, there's always, the appeal to the steering committee for this stuff. Number two, there's nothing to prevent that SIG from writing a charter that says, well, we have certain special type of sub-project, which are root sub-projects, and they can create sub-projects, to sort of empower those things to happen, right? So, there might be a special sort of governance model that makes sense for the cloud provider SIG.
Yeah, it's already the case that there's not a one-to-one mapping between sub-projects and repos. A sub-project can have as many repos as they want. API machinery has a gazillion repos, and not all of them are independent sub-projects.
Right. One more wrinkle here, for example, is the cluster provider for API provider for OpenStack is under the cluster lifecycle SIG. So that's one more, wrinkle here. So yeah, I would definitely go for a work group. Sorry, not a work group, a sub-project in cloud provider for OpenStack, and then consolidate the repositories there. I think that would be a good model.
All right. I don't think we need to rat hole on it here, but I did at least want to have the conversation of if we're cool with cloud provider, if as part of this consolidation needs to have something above and beyond the standard template. And this is one case where that makes sense. Dims and possibly myself can iterate on that. And then see if that group is happy, and if they're happy, run it through this group.
Yeah, let's go back to the SIG cloud provider and propose it there and see if they have any pushback.
Yeah, I think over time, the grand consolidation would be good. It's natural, because I think there's too many SIGs, especially in the cloud provider space, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the next one, how many PRs are blocked by CLA signing? Right now it's 15, but I haven't counted the PRs that will automatically close when it times out by the bot. So I haven't done that. So
that's tracking that because you're evaluating DCO versus CLA?
Yeah, just one more data point there.
One more data point is that the CNCF got feedback that DCO is too painful from other projects in the latest contributor survey.
Okay.
So,
Why is the DCO more painful than the CLA?
We
could ask Chris Anashizik for more data on that. Sarah may have.
I've got it. To actually follow the letter of the law on the DCO, every commit has to have something written at the bottom of it specifically certifying that. Yeah. So it's a different model, and there's also the point that many corporate lawyers, because there's no case law on DCO, are very leery of considering DCO, and this is across a variety of companies. So there is work being done by the new platform specialist at the Linux Foundation, or platform VP, or whatever the heck his name is, or his title is, to improve the the CLA and CCLA experience. So he said he should have a demo of it shortly, and I should be talking to him tomorrow, so I can get more info on that.
Sounds good.
It's a single command line flag on git commit, but all right.
But it's on every commit.
Oh my gosh,
It's
aliases.
like everything with Git, it's like you just learn the incantation and it becomes muscle memory.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we're not going
You
to.
should learn how to use Git better is not the friendliest thing to say to new contributors.
No.
I mean, we've been using it on the Heftio projects, and it's you know, it's not trivial. You know, it's not zero. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
So maybe this is outside of the scope, but I continue to ask when an open source version of the CNCF CLA signing process.
So this is the thing that I'm trying to talk to the platform guy at the Linux Foundation. Like I said, tomorrow. I will have more info after that.
Cool.
Right.
I cannot say enough nice things about the responsiveness of their help desk, but that would be great.
I was going to second that. Yesterday, somebody pinged me and I asked them to send an email out. Within 5-10 minutes, they were all set. So yeah, good feedback. I mean, quick feedback from them. So
But it still shouldn't be going to the help desk.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then the next one is we did talk about extraction of OpenStack and other things in the SIG architecture. So that's done. And the last one is the work group for Kate's infra. We haven't done that yet, Aaron, you and me.
I have linked the relevant portion of the video that we need to watch and figure out how to wordsmith around. I just haven't gotten to it.
Okay, sounds
End
good.
of this week.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Okay, so moving forward, quick question. Oh no, that's from last week. Do we want to approve working groups? That's not an action item. So I think we're done with action items. Shall we go through the board? Yes. No.
I inserted the quick question, just a yes or no thing, because we got pinged on.
Yes.
Okay.
It's part
Oh, sorry.
of
I thought that was last week's. I thought for some reason this was last week's notes. Never mind. Yeah.
It's part of
Yeah,
our
pinged
it's
us.
documented in WG governance that every stakeholder SIG needs to have a chair LGTM and the majority of the steering committee needs to vote. This is what caused me to bring the infra working group proposal to the steering committee 2 weeks ago, is I needed to get a majority of you to say yes. And I think where we left it was you were all okay with it, but Brian wanted us to make the charter sound list SIG-like, so we were going to do that. And if Brian was satisfied or Phillips had felt like we had met Brian's demands, Phillips was going to be the proxy majority vote for us.
Do we? I mean, I guess this. We don't know if we're going to open a can of worms, but do we really think it's worth our time to review every single working group?
Thus far, we've only had to do one.
Well,
But there's a lot more working groups than that, right?
it used to be very unclear who was the decider, right? So there would just be round and round discussions, and depending on the people who were pursuing it, whether they gave up or just pushed it through silently, like was basically, pretty arbitrary. So I think having some kind of process as we learn what's important and what's not important is good for now. If we decide, well, it's not worth it and it's going the way we want, then we can say it's not necessary anymore. I think that's
Okay. That's
great.
cool. That's cool. All right.
Once we get a few examples and possibly even a template up, it makes it a lot simpler to say, do it like that.
Yeah, I think right now there's still enough confusion about what should be a working group versus what should be a SIG versus whatever, that it's helpful to just say no, just at least take a look and say, yeah, this makes sense as a working group, or no, this actually should just be a sub-project or something else.
And then we need to start triaging the inbound for next time, because there's a couple that are pending on us right now.
I know LTS is the only other one that I'm aware of. What else is there, Tim?
I don't know. I have
there's-
to look at my backlog, but LTS is the one I was thinking of.
There's the nodeless one is
That's going to be reopened, right?
yeah, that's going to get reopened. Yeah, so that's going to come.
Yeah, the LTS one, it's almost ready. I don't know if it's fully ready yet.
Yeah, I was planning to take a look, and in general, yeah, a lot of stuff needs to be fixed in releases. I don't know what they mean by LTS. So,
Yeah, that's what they were going to figure out, Brian.
It's shorter than to LTS or not to LTS.
Right.
What is Kubernetes and what does it mean to LTS it?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Brendan, back to you. I think we can do the board.
All right, cool. Where's the right tab? All right. In progress, formalized sub-projects. Is that still in progress?
Yeah, so that was my action item to like make
Okay.
the experience better. Still working on that.
And same thing for document working groups, right? That. Okay.
Hey, Docs.
How do I?
Wait, I'm
Sorry. Steering committee liaisons. That's also one of yours, Aaron. That's also?
I
Can
should
you go back to the working groups for 1 sec?
Yes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we did merge a PR on documenting working group formation process, and there's a little bit there about when they get disbanded. Is there something
Okay.
more we wanted to see there?
There had been some discussion about whether or not we wanted working groups to have to touch SIGs or have SIG chairs as a formal point of contact. It seems like we want that, considering we say that the affected SIGs chairs must LGTM a working group's charter. So there was a desire to add fields for a working group to say like what SIGs they are related to or touch in SIGs YAML, so that when you're looking at a working groups page, you know which SIGs are involved in this. Or conversely, if I'm in SIG release, what other working groups are tangentially touching me?
Okay, so we should update this item to say document how to attach or relate SIGs to working groups.
I had retitled it. I'm just looking at the latest comment on the issue. I said I retitled it because the scope looks like it had grown. And Phil, you have some follow-up PR on working group stuff that I think I was happy to.
Okay, so yeah, besides that, I'm aware of that thing. I was just wondering if there was.
I think that's it.
Okay, great.
Unless anybody else here has any more clarifying questions or process for working groups.
I think there's some.
Brian, we can't hear you.
Sorry. I think there's some cleanup of some existing groups that should really be sub-projects, or there's one SIG that should really be a working group and things like that. But we can decouple it from the working group issue overall.
All right. Are we done? So the issue stays open is the consensus that I'm hearing. Correct?
Yeah, issue stays open, and I'm updating the description to.
Okay. And stays in progress, not blocked.
Yeah. I think that's
Okay. Aaron, codify steering committee liaisons for SIGs into SIGs.yaml. I assume that's still ongoing. Charters meta issue, still ongoing. We're getting closer, I guess. Do we have a list of the charters that haven't merged? I guess we could look in the.
Yeah, it's in the meta issue.
Okay.
I just added a link to the SIG apps charter, which I'm going to look at. I poked the other SIGs that my name is attached to, SIG GCP and API machinery and docs. I need to remember whether they responded. None of them have really started yet. GCP might get folded into cloud provider, so that's what they're currently thinking about.
SIG Windows is now merged, although that was the one that merged with limited review.
Yeah, it has Phillips and myself listed for needing to review that. So
yeah, so let's move it into. I'll edit this.
I guess the
No, I
high-level
can't.
question here is: Are we
Yeah,
pushing?
Jace has to do it.
Are we pushing to have all of these done before KubeCon?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. We're getting close, and we should keep pushing on it. I don't see any reason not to keep pushing on it, but like, I don't know that we're going to necessarily get there.
I would love to be able to announce at the KubeCon Contributor Summit that we have all the.
Yeah, can you
Like
maybe
it's
help me
a
understand
little
which
bit
ones are the really, really tricky ones here that we're afraid of?
I don't think there's any tricks, right? It's just getting somebody to do it.
SIG architecture is still, last I looked at it, I haven't.
Well, we redid it using the template, and DIMS helped document all the sub-projects, and that merged. So
Okay.
I approved the charter. Quentin asked to hold it for a while, but he didn't say why.
Well, so technically, Joe, you're listed as a reviewer for that, I guess. If you're happy with it, then that seems like that can merge.
And it's basically the template with the Federation of Sub-Projects model.
Okay. I'll make sure I get that this weekend or end of week. You know, I'll put that on my list over the weekend.
Yeah, but the goal was just to start simple and focus on the sub-projects that we're trying to execute on.
Right.
Awesome.
Brian, there was one thing, I don't remember where I saw Quinton's comment was about when do you escalate from the sub-projects to, the SIG itself? When do you bring stuff? For example, if we have trouble in the Kate's conformance working group, then what is the escalation process for bringing it back to, SIG architecture? That was one question I don't think we've covered in the charter.
Yeah, and that's, Joe.
I would say personally, I'm fine with leaving some of this undefined, and we can feel our way through it, and we can add rules as we need to. I like, if we want to lawyer it up, we'll end up with like 30 pages. I mean, I know what it looks like when you lawyer things up, believe me, and I don't think we need to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if that's cool with everybody, then we should just go ahead with it.
Well, that's exactly what we do in cluster lifecycle. Just make sure that like the leads of the project, there's enough leads of the project that there isn't a block vote, right? So that way it's spread it out across enough so that the leads of the SIG, have the ability to sort of have some back and forth to help keep each other honest.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
so where we're bottlenecked right now is just ramping up more people who are willing and have time, can make time to do the work. So that's what we're trying to do right now. Like just on the conformance effort, for example, trying to get people to join the conformance working group mailing list. It's very, very low traffic. There's a once a month meeting, and just start working on stuff there. So that's where our effort is currently at. SIG is just behind many other SIGs in terms of functioning as a get stuff done kind of entity.
So, this discussion is making me think like we have this general idea around modified lazy consensus for decision making. Do we need another sort of principle around, optimistic unstated process? Like, don't create process unless we actually have a concrete need for it. Assume that people are going to be rational and create it on demand. I'm going to throw that on the pile. Let's not talk about it now, but I think, as we see these patterns, let's try and think.
Yeah, on the lazy consensus front, we have to be careful about where that gets applied. Like LGTM does not happen through lazy consensus, right?
I think the don't worry about process, we can figure it out later thing works if people agree that this steering committee is the ultimate body to escalate to and people trust this body to be responsible and make sane decisions. And I'm totally in favor of that for what it's worth.
Joe, you can go maybe create the process for not creating process.
No, I think I'd rather have come up with general sort of like values or axioms that folks can work by, and then just be like, let's just not lawyer everything up unless we have to. But that's a different discussion. I just wanted to sort of see people's thinking on that.
Yeah, we really don't want to have like foundation bylaws that are 35 pages long.
I recognize the gentleman from Mountain View.
Yeah.
Where you guys aren't in Mountain View anymore, sorry.
But yeah, I will continue to, I'll poke all those other SIGs that I'm vaguely involved with at this point and see if we can get movement on those charters. Yeah, big data, by the way, is the one that really should be a working group, not a SIG. Like they're never going to own code in Kubernetes.
Do you want to own suggesting that to them?
I suggested that to Anirudh, but yeah, he's off doing other things now. So yeah, I can try to channel that into the SIG other ways.
Okay, so I'm cautiously optimistic that we could get all this done by December 5th. We'll find out, I guess. But I agree with Joe. I'd love to announce this at the Contributor Summit. It only took a year, but we finally got you people to write down what it is you think you do here.
I also think as part of our Q&A, it would be really good to review with everybody the difference between working groups, committees, and SIGs.
And some projects.
Because, I mean, we can write stuff until we're blue in the face. People don't read it. And so I think just starting to seed a lot of people with sort of how we're modeling this stuff might be useful.
Hey, Bosun,
Oh yeah, that's me.
what's next?
Sorry. Thanks. Sorry. Too much multitasking. All right. So blocked things, sunset procedures for SIGs and working groups. I actually don't know why that's blocked.
There's a pull request that I was happy with. I honestly don't know why it's blocked either.
Lazy consensus.
Looks like something merged. There's a dedupe SIG governance rename. There's a dedupe SIG governance that you have open, but this looks like it's done, right? Because the add SIG retirement criteria merged.
There's an add sunset procedure PR still open.
Yeah.
Oh, there. Add sunset procedures for SIGs and working groups.
Yeah, it's the next thing in the blocked column.
Yeah, why is that blocked?
I'm looking.
George added a commit since I last reviewed merge, but
Dims
I
has
don't
a
know what it
comment.
is.
Dims has, looks like Dims has some comments about Slack channels. That's it. And then, so Dims, it looks like he maybe took another shot at it, that George took another shot at it after you made the comment. So can you check?
Okay, I'll do that.
He didn't ping the conversation, so I'm not sure, but I see another push since then.
He removed a period.
Nice.
Yeah.
I might not have addressed the Slack channel thing. But I don't know. Let's maybe if you can, we can ping that along, or Joe, if you can ping George.
Yeah, by the way, we have sunset some SIGs and working groups before. One of the issues that did come up is people who wanted to go look at what happened in that SIG had trouble doing so if materials were shared just with the SIG and the work group was shut down, so it was no longer possible to join the group. So we may want to just make some kind of comment about how to properly archive a SIG or working group, the mailing list and documents and whatever other artifacts that aren't in GitHub.
God, I wish we could use something like Team Drives with like a drive per SIG. That'd just be too freaking easy.
Okay. Anything more on that? No. Ensure all Kubernetes repos follow the same contributing structure. This looks like this is Phillips and Aaron. Let's see what it's blocked on. A bunch of repos don't have contributing.md. A bunch of them are merged. There's a couple open ones. It looks like SIG CSI. Does somebody want to ping? Does somebody want to add pinging the CSI folks to merge a contributing license, etc.?
Last comment I had down there is that there's some minor differences. There's a matter of vetting whether all the docs are in the right places and agreeing on what those right places are. We got pushback from somebody in one of the repos that said, stop cluttering up my root directory with these docs. They shouldn't be here. I want them someplace so people can see more of the README, right? It's pushing the README below the fold. And that has kind of deadlocked us. Do we care if the docs are not in the root place? Do we want to go pay the cost of updating the automation to check a couple different places instead of just root? Brian is muted if he is talking about this.
Which repo was that?
I am not sure. I
mean, from all of the ones that are open, the only one that I see that's still open is CSI, and they already merged a bunch, so it seems like they don't object.
I don't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately. Anyway, this is open because I think there are a couple like docs repos that may lack some of those docs, like contributing MD,
Right.
conduct stuff like that.
Is there a central place where we? I mean, I know we have all the automation on. Is there a central place that lists ones that are missing it?
I am not sure.
Okay. Because in the absence of that, it feels weird to just sort of leave this thing open because it doesn't have what needs to be resolved. I don't know. All right, there's everybody's thrilled around this one, so we're gonna. I guess we'll leave it in the blocked waiting column.
So hang on, let's at least document why it's open. It's open because we don't actually know what needs to be done to resolve this.
Well, it sounds like one thing we need is automation to tell us what things are non-conforming.
Yes.
To just scrape all of the repos of all the orgs.
And I feel like Nikita must have done something like this because she added a whole bunch of these, and so I feel like someone, like, unless she just did it manually, which seems horrible. And Jess said earlier, says I can make the tool, so.
Yeah, I think it was. This is the typical, does the steering committee have a policy decision here? If every repo is supposed to look like the Kubernetes template project, that repo has all of these wonderful files living in its root, not inside of a directory called .github or whatever. But if you scroll further up in this issue, Monopole is saying that there is precedent within GitHub for these files to live somewhere other than root. And could we please be okay with that? So,
for now, I can just tell Jeff no.
and his argument is that the user experience for repos like Kubernetes is awful because you have to continuously scroll past all these boilerplate files.
I may not be wrong, but I don't know that we have bandwidth to go fix that.
I can ask Jeff if he wants to write a tool to fix the automation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we have no objection. Why don't we say we have no objection necessarily, but we're not going to do it. So if they want to write a tool to do all the PRs, that's great.
Did you just say PR's welcome?
I just said PR's welcome. Yeah, I pretty much said PR's welcome.
I mean, my team owns this repo, so it's not going to be a controversial.
Yeah, pointing it.
All right, moving on. Doc versus CLA discussion. I think we've closed this. Have we not closed this? Can we just close this?
We discussed that earlier.
I think we can, as long as somebody puts some details in there, so that way external observers who actually are watching.
But is there anybody who's like, oh my God, I need the DCO?
Dims.
Like, this doesn't feel like this is top of the list right now. Like I know where I stand, but at the end of the day, I don't think this is top of the list.
Yeah, we can close it. But I do want to open a meta discussion in another issue later about how do we make it easier for people who are not 9 to 5, you know.
Yeah, but I think this is a relatively minor issue amongst the many problems with.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and I actually think that a bigger issue actually is availability of the CLA thingy. Because the only people I've ever seen had problems with the CL thingy, it's because it hasn't worked properly, not because like it was a pain to use. Like I've had numerous people who sorry, what? Oh yeah, there's some of them drop, and but I kind of feel like there's always drive-bys. I mean, I have plenty of PRs where I put a bunch of really nice comments on their code and they never come back either, right? So like, I think there's just gonna I think we should just accept that there's gonna be drive-bys. But I have also had, I can send you a bunch of PRs where people are like, I signed it. And like, 5 hours later, they're still saying I signed it. So that's a bad experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the hope there is the new tool that we were talking about earlier. The open source version will help make things better for the CLA people.
Okay, are you going to have to sign the CLA to contribute to the CLA infrastructure?
Now, what's the break glass scenario for this one?
Yo, dog, I heard you like licensing.
All right, so somebody want to put a comment on this, basically saying we're not doing this right now. LF is litigating DCO anyway. Maybe we'll revisit this someday in the future. We're going to work on tooling to make sure that this is clean. Something like that.
Yeah. By the way, when this broke in the past, we had a CLA human approved label just for that reason, for the break class.
Yeah. All right. That's all for the backlog or for the blocked waiting. Do we have anything on the backlog that we need to move into in progress? Is anything, should we go through that, or does anybody? Elections meta issue. I think we can close that, right? Is that right? Oh, this was maybe not.
No, we can't. There's more there than just I touched up some stuff, but that has a number of longer lasting.
All right, cool. Is there
maybe
anything?
go through and assign things in the backlog, so we actually put ourselves, on the chopping.
I think that would be a great thing to talk about in person at KubeCon. Just a full
Excellent
backlog grooming.
I like the way you defer and procrastinate that. So maybe we could talk about it in KubeCon 2020.
Well, I'm trying to keep us focused on actually go bug your SIGs for charters. I think.
All right. So charters. Okay, let's just go nail charters. Okay, sounds good. We got 8 minutes left.
I have one. The license scanning stuff. I ended up talking to Steve, I believe his name is, from CNCF, with Nikita, and we went through the old scans. They're going to run a new scan sometime this month, maybe in a week or so. So one question I have is there anything in there that will block, that we would consider blocking a release on? And that was one question I had for you all from that meeting.
AGPL.
This is dependency licenses?
Yes.
So stuff, right?
The one thing that is bothered me was the Heketi license, Heketi, and I'm trying to push those people to relicense some of the files. They do not have the Apache license anymore for some files. By mistake, they were they were trying to do Apache plus LGPL, and when they were doing that mechanical change, they left some files with just LGPL, which we end up pulling. So is that some kind of thing that would make us stop our release?
So at the root of the repo is one license saying, hey, it's both of these, but then individual files are marked with another one, and so that creates confusion.
Right. Yeah. At this point, there are like 3 files or 4 files, which I mean, have a problem.
In the past, no, that was the copyright header that we were told didn't matter.
Correct.
But this is the copyright.
Yeah, no, but it's the license in the copyright header. I can't remember.
Like they have
people
one,
said
the wrong one. Yeah. So
does it actually matter? I can't remember.
I would assume that, like, if you have a copyright on the file, that sort of takes precedence over the things at the root of the repo.
Don't we need a lawyer to answer this question?
This is the kind of thing
I can guess.
I mean,
I don't think I would hold a release on that one specifically, because I think there's an intent there. But I think we definitely want to rush to fix it.
Right.
Yeah, I would hold on AGPL and GPL3.
Okay. Well, that's the problem with this one, is that file is left with just AGPL. The intent seems to be dual, but
is it AGPL? It's LGPL, right?
Is it LGPL or AGPL?
LGPL.
Now, LGPL is okay, right? Because all we do is link it.
LGPL is not as big a deal.
Okay.
So then, isn't LGPL compatible with Apache 2?
This is the kind of thing that we should ask CLF.
No. Yeah. As a former Red Hatter and who has done this many times, LGPL is not compatible with Apache 2.
It depends on what you're trying to do, right?
Right. It's compatible. I thought it was compatible if all you were doing was linking the library, because that's the L in LGPL.
Go, it ends up being, it's not like LGPL plus Go is a nasty combo.
So is this library?
Oh, right, because it's the compiler, right? Never mind, yeah, because it's shipped as source and you compile. You don't link it, you compile it.
Right. Okay. So we should ask the LF lawyers, and they're going to say no, and so we should rush to fix it and/or replace it. Do we know where this thing's used? How hard is it to actually?
It's one in-tree volume plugin, which is the gluster plugin. So if we remove the gluster plugin, it goes away.
Okay. So I think we should put this on the.
Poke Steve Watt in the eyeball. I can poke Steve Watt or Aaron Boyd.
Okay.
Yeah, we should
Yeah.
light a fire under that.
Cut off the limb.
I've been poking them. Nikita has been poking them, and somebody else from Google has been poking them too. But then I just
I'll poke them. They know me.
okay. Thank you. The other related news is Stephen Augustus is going to enable the FOSSA thing sometime soon. I don't know exactly when. I'll find out and let you all know.
So is this going to be like is this going to be a pre-submit check?
I think so.
I hope so.
Or
Yeah.
or a pre-submit?
Yeah, and the problem we've had in the past is that we, firefight these license issues and then they crop up again.
Yeah, no, it'd be great to get it on every PR.
Right.
So, in general, we need an owner for this to continue oversight. I don't know if we want to post to, you're the owner, Dims? Okay, and so LF is also, or CNCF is offering to do a security audit. So we need an owner to engage with them. I think that's the security team right now is signing up for that. But yeah, that would be useful to make sure that moves along. I think our role in those things is just to make sure there is an owner.
Right. So do we want to move the Kubernetes license scanning to in progress?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need a SIG owner for the license scanning, or?
SIG release, if I remember
Yes.
right.
Yeah, that's right. SIG release is going to own that piece, at least the pre-submit check.
Cool.
And I think they give out badges to the project as well that you can put on our root README file. So we'll see.
Clair.
I was muted. Okay. There was one other thing at the bottom there, I think. Those KubeCons are eating up all our time. Oh, Brian, do you want to review the SIG apps charters? It's too late for that, probably, right?
No, this was me just brain dumping notes. I think we covered that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll look at it this week.
We're canceling next meeting because it's so close to Thanksgiving. If anyone's in Shanghai and wants to hang out, let me know. And otherwise, I think we're good.
Well, I think there was the one bullet I saw in there, Brandon asking CNCF TOC candidates. And Michelle,
Right.
Michelle and Brandon both can nominate 2 people to the TOC. 6 people will get elected come January. Elections close right after Thanksgiving, November 26th. Nominations close, sorry, November 26th. So just put it out there.
Well, maybe we just people can suggest people on steering private if they have people they want to suggest. And then if there's more than one, or if somebody objects, we can not nominate them.
Sure.
Like lazy consensus effectively. And if there's more than 2, then we'll have a vote, but I aspire to there be more than 2.
What criteria are we looking for there?
I can send some notes about what the TOC is actually doing.
I've been told that it's a somewhat substantial time commitment.
It's becoming an increasingly substantial time commitment, yes.
So that should be so I think we shouldn't nominate anybody who we haven't talked to about that, because we want to make sure they can commit the time.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that also it would be great to sort of, if there are well-qualified, diverse candidates, I think that's a great thing to nominate as well. Just something to keep in mind.
It's weird because I think, the folks that show leadership inside of the Kubernetes project, who are doing good work, number one, it's like we want them to keep using their time to do that. And then the second thing being is that the TOC is going to be a little bit of a different type of work than that type of work. And so, yeah,
I would encourage people to think broadly, think beyond the Kubernetes project to other people, because I think that's actually more valuable. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and so right now, on the composition of the TOC, there are effectively 2 people with an end user background Camille and Sam. Only one really with a project background, and that's me. Jonathan, you can argue, but I mean, he hasn't been that involved. And then some, other people from companies in the cloud native space. So I don't know who the new candidates are. I'm told there are some, but it's within the GB. Michelle and Brandon could probably tell us if they were here. Yeah, I can send some notes about what the TOC has been doing and what kind of work it is and what the level of time commitment is.
Yeah. Now, is it the governing board who votes on these things? It's the
governing board.
The governing board. Yeah, so that's problematic because I think, finding folks who are, well, it's a different discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Electability is a different issue.
All right. Well, we're out of time, and I need to drop. So, bye.
As do I. See
you in Shanghai or in Seattle or in the next?
Yeah, I'll see you in Shanghai, Brendan. I'll see the rest of you in 4 weeks.
All right.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.